Hey guys, so we're gonna do a slightly different video today because your girl is struggle bussin' today. um, so I have had a fairly interesting week. Um, this, I guess it's not this past Thursday, Thursday before. I woke up and my leg wasn't working, my right leg. And for anyone who has followed me for a while, you will know that I had some foot drop in that leg, my right leg, um, before I started getting patched. And that was also one of the first symptoms to go away at the point that I was getting patched. And so when I woke up and I had this limp, it was fairly startling because it wasn't necessarily overnight, but it almost was. A week before, I noticed that the sensation in that leg wasn't right, but I wasn't, I was hoping it would go away. And it didn't, but I thought, well, what's a little bit of different sensation. So when I woke up and my leg didn't work, it was startling and frustrating and a little scary because that was an indication that I was backsliding. Um, and then I had yet another patch on Monday, and the patch went fine, and we went in only wanting to do 2 patches, so only 2 injections, and we ended up doing 3 because one of the injections called for a catheter, and the catheter went in the wrong direction. No big deal, you just do it again. And so everything went right, and as long as I was on the pain medication, everything was fine. But when the pain medication started to wear off, I noticed that the pain this time around is significantly more where the injection sites were than in previous. And so it was a little startling, but I wasn't too worried about it because I would honestly be surprised if you weren't a little uncomfortable after these procedures. And so I thought that maybe this one was just a little bit more painful. And then the next few days, the pain got worse, which is pretty typical, but because it started out bad, worse was worse. And so, again, startled but not surprised. But the longer it was and the more intense the pain, it was more surprising. And then, my 72 hours was up, and I went to get in the shower, and I felt like I was going to pass out. And not like a POTS pass out, because my POTS pass out is different, where it's slow, I can feel it coming, my ears don't ring, my vision doesn't tunnel, I just drop to the floor like a rock. And this was tunnel vision and my hearing going, and like I realized I was going to do like a normal pass out. I was gonna faint. And so I ended up lying on the bottom of the shower until I thought I could get up, and then got back into bed with the help of the person that was taking care of me, and stayed in bed until I felt better. And so I got up and I decided to do a couple errands to get out of the house since I'd been cooped up for days. And it was nothing intense. It was all walking. And I wasn't walking anywhere incredibly far. And we ended up going to the movies, and sometime during the movies I realized that the pain was getting worse, and I was feeling shaky, and like in a shaky, my blood sugar is low, kind of shaky, except my blood sugar was fine. And then I started having cognitive problems where we went to a restaurant to get some food to go, and we'd been to this restaurant before, several times before, but I was convinced we were in the wrong place, that the place we were at wasn't... Hello. Hello, darling dearest. Down in front, kitty. Um, I was convinced that the place we were at wasn't the right place and it was a completely different place. So I was lost in a familiar part of town. And then I was trying to think of actors and movies that I'd seen, actors that I knew the names of, movies that I knew the names of. And I knew the names, but I could not find them in my mind. Kitty! Down in front! Over there. Stay. Stay. You're needy. So I knew the names and I could not think of them. I knew them, but I could not find them in my mind. And so the combination of all of this, feeling lightheaded, feeling shaky, feeling lost in my own mind, not being able to think, switching words around, these are symptoms I've had before, but maybe not all at once. And it was very startling. I felt like I was kind of losing my mind a little bit. And it wasn't necessarily a sudden onset, but it was quick. It was a quick onset. And so and since then, those symptoms seem to kind of wax and wane, where they're worse sometimes and better other times. But so far, this patch has not been mind-blowingly successful. And the thing about patches is that they say that it takes 4 to 6 weeks to see the full results. So it could be in 4 to 6 weeks, I will feel an improvement, and maybe this is the patch to end all patches, and it just took a little bit more work and pain. But as of right now, I'm a little worried, only because I seem to have backslid so quickly after so much work and so much patching, and it's a little frustrating. It's a little scary. And at this point, only time will tell whether or not the patch takes and I feel 1,000 times better, or we have to think of a different plan. That's kind of where we're at. It's been interesting. But unfortunately, in my mind, the patching process is a lot like, gambling, where you throw the dice and sometimes you get a good result and you win, and sometimes not so much. So the cynical part of me is saying it's failed. The realistic, more optimistic part of me is saying that I need to be patient and allow this to work. So I'm going to attempt to be patient and allow it to work, but I will keep you guys updated as to whether or not it works. But as of right now, things are a little rocky. And things have been rocky before, and they've turned out fine. So I'm hoping it's one of those times. And so I'm going to try to keep the faith that this patch is going to help me and that I'm going to improve instead of backslide further. So that's kind of my weekly update. So far, my POTS has been stable-ish. Feeling really out of breath, which could be the POTS. The muscle weakness could be the POTS. But the problem with the definition as far as POTS and CSF leaks is that the symptoms can be incredibly similar. And there's a theory out there that people who are diagnosed with POTS actually have CSF leaks and not POTS. So it's very difficult for me to separate the symptoms one from the other. So CSF leak is probably worse, but the jury's still out. And POTS is stable-ish if you don't count the shower incident. So that's where we're at. So I guess I will see you guys in the next video, and I will keep you updated on this adventure we call life. Kitty! I'm just trying to make a video here. Come on now. Oh, jeez.